Hi, welcome to Digital Boardroom, coming to you from etail France. I'm Sally Green and I'm joined today by David Williams from Deckers. David, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, that's fine.
So I hoped we could talk about what you're seeing as the biggest opportunity at the moment for retailers in the online space.
Well, the biggest opportunity at the moment is, I think really is actually from our point of view, is really looking at putting the customer at the centre of everything. With all the talk about omni-channel, obviously mobile is important. How you do that and how you structure that is probably the biggest key thing that's concerning us at the moment.
So talk me through what you've done to put the customer at the heart of things.
Deckers is a portfolio company, traditionally a seller of product to wholesale partners, and doesn't have the experience right now fully of really putting the customer at the heart of everything. So we're at the very early stages of that process. We do have a relatively sizable retail portfolio across Europe and the Americas and China. We have some e-commerce websites, obviously, in Europe and in the same locations. Initially, it's really about putting the technological infrastructure in place. It's about leveraging what we already do pretty well, which is how we look after our consumers in store and how we make the website experience as good as possible. But the key things we need to do really are based around that are probably infrastructural changes to support that change in mindset across the business, and technological as well, which is really about tying up our systems. Everyone talks about big data, about consumer, how you can join up the consumer using mobile. That's a big piece of work that you really need to invest a certain amount of money in and mindset shift within the company.
So how did you actually affect that cultural shift within the organisation?
It was really mandated from the top. I mean, if your CFO and CEO need to put that in place, if they haven't considered that longer term as a strategic piece, then you're probably doomed to fail. And from that point of view, it's really investing in knowing the investment in the technologies, in infrastructure. So, for example, some of the shared services that all companies use, all the functions, the back office operations, the warehousing, the customer service, the buying and merchandising, have to understand that their jobs and what they do will slightly change based on this shift away from selling to retailers to selling direct to end consumers. That's one of the key things that we've learned from this.
So could you talk me through a few practical examples of what you've done differently?
Well, if I talk about how we revisited the UK market with the introduction of e-commerce, especially for our Australia brand it was about 2.5 years ago, and we had to look at the existing distribution of our product. We had to work out how e-commerce and our retail stores were going to fit into that, because it was an inherent change in what we're going to do, and it meant working closely with my wholesale counterparts, looking at the existing companies that we were working with, and basically doing some segmentation there, and accepting, of course, and then doing some political work to explain that the website is a brand website. It's not an e-commerce website. It's there to support the brand within the market. Some of the things we did, for example, to do that was obviously share more information around engagement metrics to our wholesale partners about how we were increasing traffic to the website. How for Australia, for example, we were going to clean up Google at the time. We had a very big counterfeit problem for Ugg boots.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we spent a lot of time with our agencies, SEO agencies and paid search agencies to clean up that, and it was recognised by our wholesale partners. So what we have now in the UK market, we've actually grown it. Despite some of the changes we made, and certainly the e-commerce and retail has been growing, and it's a much better consistent experience, and we have some very strong partners that we work with in our market, and it's kind of a blueprint to how we want to execute going forward.
Perfect. So you can take all of those lessons learned and all of the wins and then just apply those to some of your new markets.
There is an element of that you can do. I think one of the things about internationalization is that and especially within the EU market, is that once you do go into another market, and the discussions, the points I just made around how you have to look at each market individually. Again, you don't make the same learnings you made there. The methodology you can reuse, but if you go to those markets, you still have to go through the same exercises and understand the local variations in whether it's different products that they want at different times of year, to different payment types. Translations obviously is a key point. The marketing in that market may be very different to what we do over here. The distribution may be completely different. So you have to take what you've learned and adapt it each time and do the same process, but be mindful of local variances. So we learned a lot from that. We obviously have a scalable web platform that we use. Demandware has been very good to allow us to roll out very quickly in other countries and adapt to the local variations that we have.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck with this, with your internationalization mission, and look forward to hearing about it all next year when we meet again in Paris.
Okay, thank you.
Many thanks, David.
Thanks, Sally. Bye.